Welcome to the Islamic Library Association. We are dedicated to showcasing Muslims' rich contributions to literature and society while advocating for accurate representation and equity in libraries. Hello and assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalisah Harris. I'm a librarian and the founder of the Islamic Library Association, where we advocate for equity in libraries and public spaces, ensuring Muslims are represented accurately, respectfully, and with the depth they deserve. In this interview series, we are speaking with library professionals and allies who recognize the importance of Muslim representation in libraries and work to strengthen it. Together, we explore how inclusion, accountability, and intentional practice shape more equitable library spaces for everyone. Today, we are joined with Mr. Richard E. Ashby Jr. Mr. Ashby is the president of the Pennsylvania Library Association, past president and co-founder of the Pennsylvania Black Librarians Caucus, and co-founder of Literacy Nation along with his wife Charmaine, whom he has been married to for 17 years. He currently serves as director of the Sharon Hill Public Library. Mr. Ashby is also the past president of the Black Caucus of the American Library Association and the New York Black Librarians Caucus, and he now chairs EMIERT, the Ethnic Multicultural Information Exchange Roundtable. He has been recognized as a Library Journal mover and shaker and BCALA Librarian of the Year. He is the award recipient for DEMCO from BCALA and the award recipient for the Trailblazer Award for the New York Black Librarians Caucus. He enjoys flying kites and fast cars, especially drop-top Mustangs. Hello, Mr. Ashby. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm fine. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Well, you're here, and obviously you have been very, very busy. So let's just go on ahead and get right into it. So, you live in a region with a significant Muslim population. Has that influenced your understanding of why Muslim representation in libraries matter?
Hasn't influenced me, but it has been being assistant to it because I'm not new to the Muslim community. In college, my best friend and roommates was a Muslim brother. New York City has a large Muslim population, so I see the misrepresentation of the Muslims, especially Black Muslims in America. I see the biases and the overlooking and the misrepresentation and the misunderstanding, and I see all of that.
Mm. You co-founded Literacy Nation
Yes.
with your wife, which promotes self-published authors and libraries. Can you tell us a little bit more about Literacy Nation and what impact it could have for Muslim authors specifically?
So Literacy Nation, I founded Literacy Nation in 2009, I think it was. Woke up one night after being fired from from my first job. I had just become a librarian a couple of weeks earlier, and I questioned library leadership and some of the things and practices that we were doing.
Mhm.
They said, "Oh yeah, you might be right, but you're definitely unemployed right now, sir." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And my wife and I were living in New York, but she's from Philly. We moved back to Philly, and my wife, she's a Black woman out of Philadelphia, and she said, "Hey, brother, you got to find a job," and so God gave me Literacy Nation. I just one night, she said, "Why don't you start your own company called Literacy Nation, and you're going to promote Black literacy, Black literature." And we started. I started doing story hours all over New York, and giving out free books everywhere I could go. And when we got to Philadelphia, I did an interview on the radio, and some lady heard me, and consequently, she gave me a building, 12 rooms. She told me that I could build my own library there, and she paid the rent, she paid the electricity, she paid the phone bill. All I had to do was build a library. And my wife and I went to Philadelphia Free Library. We took some courses on English as a second language, GED, how to be a math tutor, and we put 5,000 books in this building.
Mhm.
We received some grants for laptops, and we built a library. We had afternoon program, we had summer reading program, we had afternoon lunch program, and we had a regular library. And I used that library to I made myself director. And then I started going to all conferences all over the country with my little bag that said Literacy Nation, community library, and that boosted me into getting to the mainstream libraries. And when the job opened up, I went for it. But Literacy Nation is near and dear to our hearts because right now, just for instance, right now in my library when I got here, there were no books on Islam. There were no Qurans, no holy Qurans, and we we added those books to the collection immediately. And this library is in a large community of Muslim community. A lot of my little ladies that come in here after school, I would say 90% of them have on the hijabs, and they don't see themselves in. They didn't see themselves in the collection. They didn't see themselves in the programming. And so, with Literacy Nation, as a director of the library, I have the ability to bring Literacy Nation in and build a collection out of some of the Literacy Nation independent authors and traditional authors. And the beautiful part of it is Literacy Nation is a nonprofit. And so we don't charge the library to come in and do programming. So it's not a conflict of interest. And you have to really be careful with a conflict of interest because people who want to get you will get you, especially if you're promoting something that they don't believe in. Intellectual freedom, the right to read, multicultural literature in the libraries. And so we do everything with Literacy Nation. We don't charge libraries when we go to libraries to hold book fairs and help develop the collection. So as Literacy Nation pertains to the Islamic community, we're not their answer, but we're certainly their ally.
Yeah. And that is very important and greatly appreciated. I love how you mentioned, unfortunately, you got fired, but that brought up such better results for you and for the entire community
That
to
was
be
the
able to
best thing
carry
that ever happened to me when they fired me. Are you kidding me? My life just took off after that. And I see them sometimes. I'm like, thank you for firing me so much.
Well,
But
sometimes you need that, not necessarily being fired, but that
yeah,
push to
you need that
in the
push.
space, that space to do things that you need to do.
Yes, most definitely. A lot of times they'll contact me and they'll say, I seen you in an interview and you never mentioned us. And I won't. You never mentioned that you worked here, you started here, and I won't.
It
So
is what it is.
it is what it is.
So you mentioned that you're not the answer, but you're definitely an ally. Can you share a story where engaging with the Muslim community has influenced your programs or collections of services?
So the most recent is when the pandemic came and we just in the Literacy Nation decided to start cataloging the books ourselves. And so we have what we call indie cats. And a
Mhm.
young lady, she was an Islamic sister, and she wrote books about internet safety for children. And when we sent it to be cataloged, we got a little pushback from that. And I said, "Oh, okay. So we have our own catalog, and so we're cataloging the books ourselves." And but we really wasn't making an impact. We were taking little bites out of the apple, like a bird, and we weren't making really a big impact until we met you.
Wow.
And when we met you, and all your energy and you standing on business, and we said, "Oh, this is where this is it. This is where we can make an impact." And you and your husband became more than just colleagues. You became friends to us, and we
Yes.
just loved your spirit. And so I said to my wife, I said, you know, they have the Islamic Library Association, so I'm pushing for them to join ALA. And when we did all the work, we went to join ALA, and they said, "Oh, well, you know, we have to wait 10 years or 8 years," whatever they said. It was ridiculous. And I said, "Oh my God." I didn't say it to you, but I was furious. I got off the phone yelling and spitting. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And so my wife said, "Oh boy, what are you gonna do? What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm not gonna say anything, but I become chairman of EMIERT in a couple of months. When I become chairman of EMIRT, the first thing I'm gonna do is when I get that gavel is I'm gonna make the Islamic Library Association a committee within EMIRT, within the American Library Association. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And you were so patient and you were so gracious and you were so, okay, Mr. Ashby, you know, I was like, don't worry, I got you. He's like, oh, okay, okay, we're good, we're good. And I became chairman. And you were there. The first thing I said was, "We're gonna get this Islamic Library Committee," and we did. And and you're chairman of the committee. And I
Yes.
said, "That's it. That's all I came here to do was make this a committee. I'm good now."
Oh
And
my.
I handed the reins over to the vice president, the vice chair, because I
Mhm,
truly believe that we have to get people ready for the next position.
mhm.
I run everything. I don't need to be in charge all the time. So we got you guys in, you got your committee in, and then we went for the librarians and library workers bill of rights. Okay, that also covers the Islamic community. We have rights. Okay, and so I said, you know what, I'm good. And so now Donna Gray, the chairman, she's
Mhm,
basically running EMERT because I want her to be able to hit the ground running when she takes office. I hate when somebody takes office and the organization comes to a dead stop
mhm.
and then the next person starts. And that's not how you run an organization. That's not how you have sustainability. The person in charge, the person in that seat should chair that seat with the chair, that's it, and with the next person, and so they are ready for leadership.
Yes. I love that, but I wanna backtrack just a little bit. You did really do that on that first meeting, and I was there, and we did the vote, and it got voted in to have the Islamic Information Committee, and that's historic as the first committee throughout the whole of ALA to have anything specifically with the attention towards Muslims or Islam in a positive light. So I am super grateful. Yes, I am the chair of that committee, but of course, we've met way long ago. I came to you in your library, and it has been nothing but forward movement ever since. And it's such a great place to be able to start and to move forward and continue on with what you're doing. And yes, I have spoken with Donna several times, and each conversation is just enlightening and it's another way like, okay, we can do this, we can do that. and we're talking and discussing things. So, that just shows how you have actively, you don't just say, "Oh, yes, I believe Muslim representation is important." You actively work towards helping see that happen. And I think any representation of Muslims, any good representation of Muslims that comes within the library world really is with your allyship. So I think that you are part of the solution. So don't minimize that work, the effort, and also the bravery, because we know I don't want to use the word stigma, but we know the mindset within libraries as a whole and the people who make many decisions within libraries.
So yeah, so it took some time. It was incubating, but I am now getting a lot of pushback for that for what I did that day,
Wow.
and and a lot of pushback. And
What does that pushback look like?
I've been called an anti-Semitic in the
Oh,
last week.
last week.
In the last week, and Donna and I, they didn't specifically say because we have the Islamic Committee,
Mhm,
but I know it's coming from there. I know that's where it's coming from.
mhm.
Um, and and when they said, I was anti-Semitic, I said, "Oh boy, I don't panic. Listen, I'm an old horse. I've been called everything under the sun, and it's never stuck." But this
Wow.
person, you know how they call this the race card. Every time we say something, oh, now you're pulling the race card. Well, they're pulling the anti-Semitic card. But
Oh,
my track record says I'm not an anti-Semitic. I'm not an anti anything. I'm anti-pasta. I'm anti-pasta if you want to say anything, but I'm not anti-Semitic. It'll all come out in the wash. We're not even worried about it. We don't even lose sleep over it because
mm,
my record shows that I'm fair all across the board.
hmm. Well, I'm very sorry that you have to experience these things, unfortunately. But to me, that it speaks louder with these types of situations that it's happening, because it's always, libraries talk a lot about equity, diversity, and inclusion, but we never talk about who's excluded from those inclusion efforts.
Yeah, yeah. and inclusion is a funny word because it depends on who you're trying to include and who you're trying to link up with. So I heard a guy say the other day, he said that he was trying to go through this tunnel and it was 7 foot. He was trying to decide if his vehicle could fit in that tunnel. And they sat there for a while, seeing how they can get in that tunnel. And they couldn't get into the tunnel, so they turned around. But as they were turning around, the tunnel collapsed.
Mm,
So everywhere you're trying to get into, you may not fit into. And you're not
mhm,
supposed to be there. So when people
mhm,
talk about inclusion, only include me if I want to be included.
mm,
There's some things I just don't want to be part of. And I'm good with that. So inclusion is a trigger word for me. So, inclusion. Why are you including me? To be the token? Why are you and so and that's the thing I'm dealing with in Pennsylvania. Uh, I'm uh, I'm not dealing with any racism. I'm not dealing with any exclusion. I'm dealing with the fact that I'm one of the few that represent Black Americans in the organization. I won the election. I think there's only about 3% of the voters are Black.
mm,
So that says something about the organization that elected me.
mhm,
Now now I have to get my Black colleagues to see the worth of joining this organization, to see the worth in presenting, to see the worth in saying, you know what, I am just as qualified to do presentations as you are. I'm just as qualified to be a director, to be a manager, to be the circulation manager. And I have to get my Black colleagues more involved in the system, in the association. So that's my goal. We have some wonderful librarians across Pennsylvania, especially in Pittsburgh. And you have them in Pittsburgh, you have them in Philadelphia. And I would like to see my colleagues join the Pennsylvania Library Association, versify it. Don't be included, and versify it. Somebody once told me, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. And so I don't want us to be tolerated. I want us to be celebrated.
Yes. And we do amazing work. And we didn't touch on it enough yet, but I'd love to talk about the Librarians' Bill of Rights that you have established. I know in library world, there's a library Bill of Rights, but you've
Yes,
made the Librarians' Bill of Rights.
yes,
And what
it's the Librarians' Bill of Rights. I'm trying
Mhm.
to pull it out now because I always have it right there. There it is. There it is. Okay. And so we have the Library Bill of Rights. That's the Bill of Rights that talk about the structure and what goes on in the structure. Then you have the collections and development policy, which
Mhm.
talk about the books and materials and items in the library. But what's missing is a documentation that recognizes there are people, there are souls in that building, there are souls handling and handling and archiving and curating that collection.
Mhm.
And what about them? What about us? Do we not have rights? Should we not be recognized like the building is recognized, that collection is recognized? Because ultimately, we're the ones that have to implement the Bill of Rights for libraries, the collection and development policy. But what about us? What rights do we have? What recognition do we have? What asks do we have? And so that's why we have the Libraries Bill of Rights, Librarians and Library Workers Bill of Rights. It's not a pro-labor.
Mhm.
It's not pro-labor. It's not anti-labor.
Mhm.
It's just basic things that we expect as human beings, as professionals who have gone to school and received their master's degree,
Mhm.
who have spent millions of dollars in this country in student loans. We just want to be respected and acknowledged and heard.
Yes.
We want to be celebrated, not tolerated.
Yes. And it's so important on so many levels that you've created this because, as you said, we are ultimately the people who are doing this work and the sacrifices and dedication that we've committed to this field. We should be acknowledged within that very field. And how you've mentioned how you have to speak up for Black people and things like that. It's almost sometimes I feel like the librarian's Bill of Rights shouldn't have to exist, you know? I feel like those things shouldn't even have to exist. However, due to reality, what we wish and what we would like is not always what it is. So when we're talking about reality, only 3% of the people in that decision-making room are people of color, only 3%. That speaks volumes. How is the collections and the programs and the services gonna be equitable when the staff itself does not show equitable representation of diversity? So you have one primary group of people making decisions for the public at large. That doesn't it doesn't even sound it's impossible to create what's being stated when it comes to, oh, we're equitable. And then, we fall back on these words such as neutrality. So how are we neutral if supporting Muslims makes you anti-Semitic? That's not neutral.
No, it's not neutral.
It's not neutral.
And you're right. The Diverse Bill of Rights, we shouldn't even have to have it. But if you look through the history of America, we shouldn't have to have the Emancipation Proclamation. We shouldn't have to have the voters' right. You know, we
That's
did a
true.
lot of things that we shouldn't have to have, but we have because we're human.
Yes.
We're human. We make mistakes. We don't recognize each other, and that's the state of America today. Now we don't recognize the worth in somebody else, and we put up these boundaries, and we hunt people and put them out of the country. There's a lot going on that shouldn't be going on, but it's going on, and so the bottom line, we have to deal with it,
Hmm.
and to ourselves be fair.
Yeah. Earlier, you mentioned about tokenism. It's real. And for myself personally, I check off a lot of boxes. I check off a lot of boxes. And I have experienced tokenism a lot within the library world. And I say that not to say, oh my God. No, I'm saying it to make a point of what's really happening. We have to
Mhm.
acknowledge what's happening before we can fix it. And if everybody's silent, then what ends up happening is you inevitably uphold that neutral stance, which in turn upholds the status quo, which continues to be enforced, continuously enforcing bias and prejudice, opposed to coming to work professionally.
Yes. So I say this: you're only a token if you allow yourself to be a token.
Hmm. I agree.
I'm in the Pennsylvania Library Association, which is predominantly white. I've never felt like I was a token in any meeting. You go to these Zoom meetings and you have all these people and you was one or two blacks. Personally, I've never felt as a token because I always came to the table prepared. I came to the table with an opinion. I expressed my opinion. My opinion has always been respected. Now, I have experienced racism in the Pennsylvania Library Association years ago,
Okay.
years ago. But then we had a new executive director come in, Chrissy Bucher, and she said, "We're not having it, folks." And this is a white woman, and she said, "We're not having it." And the whole culture of the organization changed, which enabled me to become the first black president in 125 years of this organization. Had I tried this 10, 15 years ago, I might have got 3 votes. Me, the janitor, and my wife.
Hmm.
But this time around, I won. And I didn't win because I was black. I won because I'm good.
Mm.
What
Yes.
I will not do is I will not put my success on my color.
Hmm.
I put success on my work ethics, my knowledge, and my dedication.
Yes. I understand completely what you're saying about being prepared. And when you're in these meetings and you're definitely outnumbered, whether it's racially or for me, even faith wise. And I feel that I have experienced tokenism, but not by means of me not speaking up. I feel tokenism in a sense of we hired a Muslim, check. But then
Mm,
when I say, hey, wait a minute, yes, I'm here now, and I worked and I did those degrees just like you, and that's why I'm at this table. And now that I'm at this table and well, women are, it's a lot of women inside of libraries, but very few black people. And normally I'm the only Muslim there. And so you want me to work here, but you don't want me to stand up for who I am. So you want me to serve the people, everybody except my own people.
well, so I'm laughing because you're funny. I'm laughing because I purposely went out to be a token. Okay, years years ago, just as the pandemic started, my wife came to me and she said, I want." She worked for the government, and she said, I have the opportunity to get a raise and pay. promotion if we go to Pittsburgh. I had been in my library for 6 years. I was comfortable. And she said, can we go to Pittsburgh? And I said, sure. She was like, really? I was like, let me find a job in Pittsburgh. And you already have one. Let me find a job in Pittsburgh and we can go. And so I found the library and I sent them my resume
Mhm.
and I didn't hear anything from them. And I said to my wife, I said, I've investigated the community and they've never had a black librarian there. I don't even think they ever had anybody black that work in the library. I'm going to send them my picture. She goes, for what? I said, to let them see that I'm black. I'm dark skinned. If they're making a checklist, I'm so dark they could check me off twice. And so I faxed these people my picture. Half an hour later, they called me. Said, do you want the job? Come down for an interview. I went down for an interview and I was hired immediately. Okay.
Wow.
Immediately. And I said to my wife, I told you, I told you, right now they're trying to hire black people and they checking off boxes. And I'll be darned if I don't get a check. You can check the box off, but give me my check. All right.
Give me my check. I know that's
And
right.
so when I got there, HR, that first day there, HR made it her business to jump on the elevator with me, just me and her.
Okay.
And she looked around, she said, Mr. Ashby, this gotta be said. You're not gonna make this a black library, are you? I said, what do you mean black library? First in my mind, I was like, cha-ching, I'm rich. I'm rich. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean a black library? And she said, you're the president of the Black Caucus and you have Literacy Nation and you do all these things on black librarianship. You're not gonna make this a black library, are you? And I said, by all means, no. What would make you think that I would try to change our library to a black library? That's not what I'm here for. She's like, oh, got her pearls. Thank you so much.
Can
I
you tell
called
me
my
what
wife.
is a black library? So you're saying it's a white library. Is that what you're saying?
Well, she'll never say this. So I called my wife. I said, listen, I won't be home for dinner. I don't know what time I'll be home. I got to do something. Said, what do you got to do? I said, I can't tell you what. I got to do something. When the library closed, I went across the street to Dollar General. And I said, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. My name is Richard E. Ashby Jr., and I'm the new director for the library. They was like, oh, we heard about you, brother. All right. I said, now listen, I need 2 employees. I need 2 people to come to work for me. And one guy was like, sure, took off. I work for you. And I got a young man, I got a young lady. I brought them back to the library. I interviewed them. They filled out their paperwork. They W-2s and all that, fill all that paperwork out. I made a folder for them. Took it back downstairs and said, now we're gonna do a quick course in checking in books and checking out books. That's all you gotta know for now. Check in book and check out book. We spent like 2 hours checking in books, checking out books, and going over the Dewey Decimal System, boom. Both of you report to work 8:30 in the morning. They came in the next day, they're behind the front desk. I told them, when people walk in, good morning, how are you? Welcome to the blank blank public library. So, white folks is coming in and they're looking over. Who were they? Sure, I'll come in. She goes upstairs. She calls me. Can you come upstairs? I come upstairs. Now there's a balcony looking over the library. You can see the offices are up here. You can see the library. She goes to the window. She goes, who are they? Who are they? I said, oh, those are the people you told me not to hire, not to make the library black. So I did. There are no employees.
My
Oh, she was so mad. I felt so good. You hired them? Yeah, I hired them. Yes, Karen, I hired them. Oh.
Do you
So don't
see
ask
what
me
can
those
be done?
stupid questions. Don't ask me a stupid question because I'll answer you the best way I can. They can mess around and find out, okay? Don't make this a black library.
That just to me tells me about other people's character, and then they try to flip it on the other person or the other party? Are you going to make it a black library? So you're saying it's a white library. That's ultimately what you're saying. You feel
Yeah.
comfortable, but I thought, what about the diversity, equity, and inclusion? And to me, that's still a form of tokenism to me. We'll hire you as a black man, but we don't want to see any other black employees. We got the one in there. This is great.
I once had so I've experienced a lot of racism, um, being a black librarian, being a black man. I've never been a librarian. I've always been a library director from the day I stepped out of from the day I got received my degree. About a week later, I was library director. In the last 10 years, I have not experienced any racism in the libraries, and that's because I've been in Pennsylvania. I've been working with the Pennsylvania Library Association. Like I keep saying, Christy Bucher has really made it a safe place for anybody and everybody
Mm,
to work in this state. She's done a beautiful job. But I once had a job. I
goodness.
was someplace, and I was away in the end of January to beginning of February. So I came back like February 4th from vacation, and my staff said, um, the board president left you something. She said, to tell you don't forget who you are. Here's a picture of a black woman breastfeeding a white baby.
What?
Yeah, she was delusional. It was a picture of a black slave breastfeeding a white baby. They said the message they gave me was don't forget where you come from.
So the library,
Yeah, I wrote a
and they're just
letter.
so neutral.
And these things happen, and these things make you grow, and things make you appreciate who you are and what you stand for. Because that's something that I would never do to anybody. But
Mhm.
it happens to you for a reason. I was chosen. God put me there to do that because He knew my reaction. He knew I wasn't going to go out and firebomb the place. He knew that I was going to address it professionally, unemotionally. Because once you start addressing your haters emotionally, then they got you. So when you have to deal with hard situations and hard conversations, you want to put the emotion all the way out, push it to the side, and just deal with the facts and bring receipts.
Yes, definitely receipts. That's unfortunate. But we're talking about people who are already in the library world. What about for those who's entering the profession today? What advice would you give to aspiring librarians who want to make a positive impact?
What you need to learn about a library, you're not going to learn in library school. It's just taught there. You're not going to. You just putting your money in a dark hole so you can get that degree.
Mhm.
Once you start working in a library, then you're going to learn, and then you will become a librarian. Okay, just like the doctors have to practice medicine, lawyers have to practice law, librarians have to practice informational science, and that's when you learn. When you start practicing as a librarian, and a librarian is somebody who gives out information, takes in information, solves problems through programming, or not solve, address problems and address issues through programming, materials, and the collection. And we are doctors, we are lawyers. People come in with medical questions. We can't answer the question, but we can lead you to the source. People come in with questions about law. You can't answer, but you can lead them to the source. My last story. One library I came in, a young man said to me, he said, Mr. Rich, how much time do you get for a kilo? What? How much time do you get for a kilo? I said, that's negative research. And I don't do negative research. Okay, sir? I don't do legal research. But here, you can go to Black's Law Encyclopedias. It's called Black's Law. And I said, you could look it up. And Stagg, so he went back there. He was there for like 2 hours. He came out, yeah, whatever, and he left. I never seen him again. Maybe it's like a year and a half later.
Mhm.
He came back into the library, and I was like, "Yo, where you been? I haven't seen you." He's like, you messed me up, man." So how did I mess you up? You wouldn't help me when I asked you about the kilo of cocaine or whatever. I said, "Well, how did I help? What are you talking about?" He says, "When I went out there and I got busted, but the time wasn't what it said." I made I cannot make this up. I said, "So you took your behind out there, you read the law, find out what the penalty was, and you went out there and committed the crime, and now you mad with me because you didn't understand that it was a crime to have that much cocaine? You mad with me? Come on, brother, stop playing." So you you get people in there, they ask you questions and they want the answers, and you can't answer everything, but you can always direct them to the source.
Yes,
And now let me just take this another step. Chat GPT and AI will never, ever take our place.
correct.
We will have to learn how to work with it, utilize it, master it, train it like we train our dragons,
Mhm.
but it will never take our place.
Yeah. You mentioned how librarians have to practice information science and that they won't become real librarians until they're in the field actually learning literally on the job. So, for those current librarians who have become leaders and decision makers, what would you like them to understand or to do differently when it comes to fostering real equity within
I would
libraries?
like to see them give more power, more more responsibility to the up and coming librarians. You're already in a seat, so you've proven that you belong there. Now take another librarian, a younger librarian, and say, listen, I'm going to put you in charge of acquisitions. Or I'm going to let you start negotiating contracts with vendors. Give them, and you mentor them. Mentor them. Their job description may not support what you have them doing.
Mhm.
So you may have to mentor them and reconstruct their job description so they can move along. So they can. I get so many young people and old people too. I was offered the job, but I'm not ready. So you're not ready. What are you talking about? You're not ready. I'm not ready. Listen, your counterparts aren't ready, but they're in the position.
Yeah,
You ever hear old on the job training?
yeah,
That's what it is. Anybody who's a first time library director is on job training because they've never been a library director before.
true.
When you get your degree, when you receive your degree to become a librarian and you work as your first library, you are on the job training. So take the position. It's not like you're in a hospital and you're on the job training trying to do a heart transplant. No, that's not going to work. You can't do that. But now you're in a library. The only time you can lose somebody's life if you give them poor customer service. That customer service is the lifeline of the library. When that person walk out of the library, they should know that they've been helped or feel like you have exhausted all avenues to get them the answer that they need,
Yes.
no matter
That,
who they are or what they look like. So I would like to see those of us in leadership teach customer service, give our younger counterparts the opportunities to grow and build them resumes.
mhm.
Don't just come to work every day I have about 2 or 3 young people who I hired, and I said, and I know it's illegal, you can't say this, but I said, "Okay, if you're not in library school in 90 days, I'm firing you." And they're like, "What?" And 2 of them went to school. One graduated in May, next one's graduating in this May coming, and they're like, "Mr. Rich, that was the best. I thought you was crazy when you told me that." Listen, when when you came to me, after my 90 days and said, "Listen, what are you doing? Should I send you home, or you have you applied for library school?" And they're like, "We
Mhm.
thought you were absolutely crazy." I said, "But it's the best thing. You have to believe in people." Somebody believed in me.
Mm,
Somebody gave me the Antioch Baptist Church gave me $100 to become a librarian,
mm.
seed money, and community development gave me another $100 because I was a librarian on a library. I mean, I was a worker in a library for 17 years. I was happy with putting away books and doing everything in the library. I did everything in the library, but I wasn't a librarian. I was a bootleg librarian, and the community wanted a librarian from the community. So I went back to school and received my degree at the age of 55.
Oh,
I am 71 now,
so you made it work.
and I'm not looking I'm not looking to retire no time soon.
Mm. So you feel fulfilled in your job. You obviously have the respect of the people, both in the community and within the American Library Association world.
I absolutely love my job.
Mhm.
I'm in the best place I've ever been before. I have a great relationship with my board, a great relationship with this is a municipal funded library, a great relationship with the borough manager, the borough council, everybody on the borough council, the borough president, the community. Um, I just can't say enough about Sharon Hill.
Been there, and
Oh, yeah.
I've seen your shelves. So many self-published Muslim authors. It is beautiful. Like, it literally just brought tears to my eyes to see so much Black Muslim representation on your shelves with the cataloging right, the tagging correct, positive, accurate information. And we're just not seeing it as a whole, but your library is a prime example, if not the prime example of how it can be. I'm not saying everything has to be Muslim, you know, because I think everyone should be able to see themselves. But when it comes specifically to Muslim representation, and then additionally Black Muslim representation, because oftentimes when we do see Muslims in libraries, it's very Arab cultured. All the time, it's not even Islam, but very Arab cultured. Not that that's a bad thing, but for the people who are uninformed and don't know if that's a culture opposed to the religion, not only that, but then Black people are not seeing themselves. Uh,
Mm,
so it just screws everything, you know? It never shows the full accurate representation and the richness and the diversity within Muslims as a whole. And Black people are the largest race of Muslims within America. So why is that not seen? We're not
that's
talking
right.
about Muslims in another country. We're talking about in America. And it's also a lot of other books that are in libraries, especially once it starts going to like uh, early chapters and YA books. It's always someone trying to bring their culture over, implying that Muslims aren't born and raised here. We have American culture. I'm American. And even if we're talking about race, because I think we both agree that Black people's literature are not, in general, are not equitably included.
Mm-mm.
So we would typically say, oh, normally it's a lot of books from a white male perspective. Sometimes you'll hear things like that. But I guess everyone forgot that there's white Muslims. Why don't you see that? So that's when you go to know that it's more than just a racial thing. It's white Christian.
You're absolutely correct. You are 100% correct. 100%.
Yet there's no accountability to ensure the accuracy and the equity of every.
You're not gonna see it anytime soon, not under this current administration.
We have to do our work, and I think that we are.
Yeah, we're doing the work. We're definitely doing the work. We have boots on the ground, and, we're not afraid,
Correct.
and, we're ready for all the smoke. Bring on the smoke, I could care less. We just have to keep doing the job. We just have to keep the work. We just have to know that we know that we know what we're doing is the right thing.
What's your amount of expertise and your longevity within librarianship, your education, your experiences, your awards, your committees, all these different things that you have done? With all of that, do you think that the Islamic Library Association has a place within the American Library Association?
There is a place. It's waiting for us. I say us. It's waiting for us to take that place. It's waiting for us to show. It's a shame that we have to show our worth. We sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. That's why I advocated for the committee. That's why I made you chairman of the committee. That's why I immediately said, now let's start working with getting you some presentations and some representation at some of these workshops and poster sessions. And so we're not asking for a seat at the table. We are the table.
Mm. Yes, I love it. Well, before we close today, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yes. I like to say I'm so proud of you.
Well,
I am
thank you.
so very proud of you. I knew from the moment I met you that you were who you said you are. Woman of faith, you're an Islamic sister. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. You went to American Library Association and they said, well, not right now. And you didn't walk away angry. You did not when I met you about it, you were not angry. You didn't have any ill will or anything bad to say about them. You said, this is what they said. Now what are we gonna do? What do you suggest that we do next? And you stayed positive. There was no negative energy. You don't have time for that in your life. And you exhibit that. And then when we met up at the conference with you and your husband. We had an absolute ball. And I appreciate you because you trusted me with your organization and with your name. And I said, just hang in there. I got you. And you was like, okay, Mr. Rich, okay, Mr. Ashby. And I'm so proud of you for what you've done and what you're going to do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me, and I look forward to all of your future endeavors and continued success. And I tell you all the time, whatever you're doing, you need something, reach out. Because I'm definitely reaching out to you. Mr. Ashby, this happened. Now what?
I look at my phone. I said, okay, what my little friend want now? What are we doing? But I like that, that you will text me anytime. And I told you when I met you, call me, text me, no matter when, no matter what's on your mind. Just call me, text me. I got you. And sometimes I look at my phone. I say, "Oh, my friend, what does she want now, Mister? Okay, we got you, girlfriend. We got you. No problem."
Your wife is so lovely. We had a great time together, going to the Literacy Nation conference, all these things. Because we're both in librarianship, our paths are going to cross more. But even outside of conferences and things like that, like you're saying, there is constant, I would say constant, but there's continuous communication.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you have to wait to see our book fair this year.
nice.
We have a
What
new
month is
venue.
it?
It's in July, August. We have a new
August.
venue.
Okay.
We took the price down from 175 to $50 to vend.
Okay.
because we're not trying to make money off of independent authors. So we found a venue that was better, bigger, and less expensive. So we can cut the price for the authors to come in. Because a lot of times the authors go to these book fairs and they pay $200-300 and there's nobody there but them and the guy working the lights. And so at Literacy Nation, we want to be the light. And so
Yes,
we cut our prices from $175 to $50.
that is beautiful. That is nice. Well, I definitely look forward to being there in August. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your insight today. It's been inspiring to hear your perspective on representation and how libraries can uplift all communities. And this conversation alone just shows how people of different backgrounds and faiths can support accurate and inclusive representation within libraries. So, our viewers, I hope that this conversation encourages you to think about how you can make your own library spaces more inclusive and equitable. And Mr. Ashby, it has been an honor having you on with me today. Thank you so much for your time and for your work. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye. Join the Islamic Library Association, and together we can shape a more inclusive future for literature.